Modern world. You know, that never-ending festival ground where everything is celebrated and noise is constantly mistaken for success. Everyone has an opinion, everyone is rushing somewhere, everyone is shouting as if into an invisible microphone. But in the very back rows of this noisy crowd, there is a group. Leaning against a corner, arms crossed, a slight smile on their faces, but an indescribable weariness in their eyes, watching it all unfold. They aren't the excited youth born into the digital world, breathing its air, nor are they the ones who sanctify the rigid, unbending rules of the old world. They are the ones who grew up right in the middle of two eras, on that very fault line. You might often see them in a cafe, lost in thought, staring into the distance. Or at work, while everyone is interrupting each other to prove themselves, they are the ones just taking notes. And finally, when everyone falls silent, they deliver that one decisive sentence. Perhaps as you listen to these words right now, you're saying, "That's me." Today, let's talk about perhaps the most invisible yet most pivotal generation in history, Generation X. Tell me, why are they so detached? And why do they carry a sadness that is so self-sufficient? Those looking from the outside often call them cold or indifferent to life. The modern world finds them a bit sluggish because they don't respond to the fake brilliance of social media with the same enthusiasm. But this isn't indifference. This is a reality filter. People mistake their distance for a wall, but it's actually a moat. Gen X doesn't see life as a performance art. They learned it as a struggle for survival. This seemingly nonchalant attitude is actually an immune system they developed against the fleeting whims of the world. In other words, my friend, this isn't a deficiency. It's a self-preservation reflex of a soul that can sense phoniness before it even opens its mouth. To touch the soul of Gen X, you have to go back to those old-school dismissals, to the story of the latchkey kids. They were the children who returned from school to an empty house, heated their own food, and established their own justice in the streets until the evening call to prayer. In psychology, we call this emotional autonomy. But it's not something fancy like it sounds in books. It's that harsh precocity of having to stitch your own wounds. This situation developed a kind of cognitive dissociation in them, a distancing mechanism. When the world turns chaotic or systems collapse one by one, they just step back and watch. Why? Because they learned in those empty houses that authority won't always be there, and that the door won't always be opened by someone else. For them, silence isn't an emptiness. Silence is the safest sanctuary where survival plans are made. If they wear a mask, it's not to look cute for society, but to protect that still childlike, fragile core within. Gen X is in fact a massive bridge. They carry the ache of a generation squeezed between the dusty cassettes of the analog world and the pixels of the digital one. They know the rhythm of their mother's sewing machine by heart, and the cold algorithms of artificial intelligence just as well. But this state of being a bridge brings with it a strange existential loneliness. They are neither fully old nor fully new. At the root of this behavior lies a skepticism born from growing up amidst old crises, the final shadows of the Cold War, and rapidly shifting moral values. Trust is a very luxury word for them. That's why a certain realism always dominates their relationships and their outlook on life. The feeling that they won't understand anyway is their oldest friend. But within this dark picture lies a magnificent power. This loneliness gave them an observational skill like no one else. They see the tiny details that no one else notices. They immediately spot the phoniness, that slight tremor in someone's voice, that hidden crack in the system. Gen X is the group most resistant to the validation opium of the modern world. Because they got used to giving themselves their own approval a long time ago. They didn't need the applause of others. They knew how to carry the noble but heavy burden of walking by their own truths. Perhaps as you pause for a moment while listening to these lines, you see that strange emptiness within you, that persistent feeling of, "I don't belong here," more clearly. I want to tell you this, your distance is not a problem. Your silence is not an inadequacy at all. On the contrary, it is your rarest gift. The modern world is now nothing more than a storefront. Everyone is glowing, everyone is so happy, everyone is incredibly successful. But you know the warehouse behind that storefront, the dusty shelves, and what real labor actually is. You are an island of reality in this ocean of phoniness. Being this in-between generation allows you to see the world in all its nakedness. You are one of the few who can take the wisdom of the past and collide it with the speed of the future. Do not be afraid to retreat into that silent fortress of yours. It is a much safer place than all this meaningless noise of the world. Remember, when the storm breaks, it's not those who make the most noise who survive, but those who stand the firmest. You are someone who weathered those storms as a child, alone in that kitchen. Now, continue to look at this chaos of the world with those wise, slightly tired, but compassionate eyes. Your presence is the deepest, most real notch carved into the soul of this superficial age. You are not alone. You just had to grow up early enough to realize that you don't have to go the same way as everyone else. And believe me, that is your greatest victory.